Welcome to Iraqi Dinar Update, your go-to source for the latest news, expert insights, and real-time developments on Iraq's currency, economy, and financial reforms. Whether you're a long-time investor or just curious about the dinar, you're in the right place. The statement made by economic and banking advisor Semeh Al-Nusayri represents not just a passing comment on exchange rates, but rather a reflection of deeper structural and institutional shifts underway within Iraq's monetary system. When he says that the Central Bank of Iraq's policies and procedures have contributed to narrowing the gap between the parallel market exchange rate and the official rate, he's referring to one of the most persistent challenges that has plagued Iraq's currency market for decades. Historically, Iraq has operated in a dual exchange rate environment, where the official rate set by the central bank differs significantly from the rate found on the street, commonly referred to as the parallel or black market rate. This discrepancy has always served as a marker of the inefficiencies and systemic weaknesses in the currency management framework. The Central Bank of Iraq, CBI, has long struggled with a fragmented financial system where demand for US dollars often outpaces supply in official channels due to trade imbalances, smuggling, money laundering, sanctions evasion, and deeply rooted corruption networks. The result of these pressures is that Iraqi citizens, importers, and businesses have historically turned to unofficial markets to meet their hard currency needs, pushing the parallel market rate well above the official benchmark. The larger this gap, the more it indicates a lack of confidence in the domestic financial system. It also harms the value of the Iraqi dinar in real purchasing terms, fuels inflation by increasing import costs, and undermines the CBI's efforts to maintain price stability. So, when Al-Nusayri says that the central bank's measures are helping close this gap, he's speaking to a major achievement. This doesn't happen in a vacuum. It's the result of deliberate, multifaceted policies being implemented under a national strategy of financial and banking reform. One of the key planks in this strategy has been tighter oversight of the currency auction system, known locally as the foreign currency sales window. This auction is the primary mechanism through which the CBI sells US dollars to local banks and exchange houses, allowing them to meet the demand for foreign currency to pay for imports and other legitimate economic activities. But over the years, this mechanism became ripe for abuse. Shell companies, front operations, and politically connected entities often used it as a backdoor to siphon dollars out of the country under the guise of legitimate trade. These leakages not only drained reserves but also kept demand high in the black market. The CBI has since implemented a number of reforms to address this. It has imposed stricter Know Your Customer (KYC) and anti-money laundering (AML) protocols, mandated digitalization of transaction records, and introduced an electronic platform that enhances transparency in dollar transactions. These measures have led to the disqualification of many non-compliant entities, reducing the number of dubious actors participating in the auction system. Moreover, the central bank has supported capacity building within the domestic banking sector. Historically, Iraq's banking sector was dominated by a few large state-owned banks that were burdened by inefficiency, lack of innovation, and bureaucratic inertia. Private banks, on the other hand, were often small, undercapitalized, and lacked the trust of the general population. To remedy this, the CBI launched various initiatives to modernize banking practices, enforce international standards of governance, and encourage competition. All these efforts are bearing fruit, albeit gradually. And that's the essence of what Al-Nusayri is pointing to. The expectation that the exchange rate will gradually decline, meaning the parallel market rate will come down to meet the official rate, is not merely a hopeful prediction. It is grounded in the tangible outcomes of institutional policy shifts. The parallel market thrives in environments of uncertainty, opacity, and institutional weakness. When you remove these conditions, the demand for unofficial channels naturally diminishes. Al-Nusayri's forecast that the US dollar exchange rate will gradually decline to approach the official exchange rate is also critical in the context of Iraq's broader monetary sovereignty. For years, the volatility of the parallel rate has made it difficult for businesses to plan, for consumers to feel confident in their purchasing power, and for investors, domestic and foreign, to have faith in Iraq's financial system. A unified exchange rate reduces uncertainty, improves the credibility of the central bank, and strengthens the dinar's value proposition as a stable currency. In fact, many countries have undergone similar transitions. Egypt, for example, faced significant pressure from dual exchange rates and was forced to unify its rates under an IMF-supported program. The transition was painful in the short term but brought long-term stability. Iraq's approach, under the stewardship of the central bank, appears more gradual and less disruptive, aiming to minimize social and economic shocks while still achieving structural reform. Al-Nusayri's confidence is rooted in the progress made on multiple fronts: regulatory enforcement, digital transformation, banking modernization, and macroeconomic stabilization. While challenges remain, such as political instability, regional tensions, and dependence on oil revenues, the central bank's deliberate strategy is clearly beginning to show results. The gap between the official and market rates is a kind of thermometer for financial health. When it narrows, it's a signal that trust is returning to the system. Furthermore, narrowing this gap could have implications for Iraq's future international engagements, including its efforts to join the World Trade Organization, WTO, attract foreign direct investment, and reduce dependence on a dollarized economy. A transparent, well-regulated, and unified exchange rate mechanism is a prerequisite for global economic integration. It sends a message to the international community that Iraq is serious about reform, is reducing risk in its financial system, and is positioning the Iraqi dinar as a currency capable of international respect and stability. In sum, the statement made by Al-Nusayri is not just an observation, it is a recognition of the central bank's deliberate and ongoing efforts to reclaim control over the national currency, to stabilize the financial system, and to prepare Iraq for a new economic chapter. The narrowing of the exchange rate gap is one of the most visible and important indicators that Iraq is slowly but surely turning the corner toward a future of monetary sovereignty, financial inclusion, and sustained economic growth. The journey is far from over, but the trajectory, as articulated by one of Iraq's leading economic voices, is clearly moving in the right direction. Thanks for tuning into Iraqi Dinar Update. If you found this content helpful, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss a beat on Iraq's evolving financial landscape. Stay informed and stay ready.